It's been over a year since Hurricane Helene hit the high country, and Western North Carolina is still feeling its effects. Hello, and welcome to App Weekly News. I'm Jacob Pearsall.
And I'm Ella Snap. From local App State stories to surrounding communities in the high country affected by the floods, everything has come so far, but there's still work to be done. Today we are covering what the high country has accomplished and how many communities have rallied together. We are so proud of the resilience of our little corner of the state. Governor Josh Stein announced another $1.15 billion of federal aid has been awarded to road repair and recovery in Western North Carolina. The announcement at the end of September is the most a single state has been funded for recovery efforts in U.S. history. Despite the additional funds, Stein emphasizes there is still more work to be done and the state will travel towards full recovery. Stein stated, quote, "I want to reassure everyone here that we have not forgotten you and we will not forget you." When disaster strikes, money moves. More than $44 billion was approved in just North Carolina alone. The money sent to help people and businesses struggling after the effects of Helene. With that being said, another $59 billion was unapproved. Almost 275,000 households applied for funding due to damages, and only $5 billion was covered by insurance and 9% was covered by federal aid.
Just 1 hour down from the mountain from Boone is Spruce Pine, North Carolina, which was devastated by the hurricane. Ella Snap reports on a flower shop in the area, from losing everything to their business blooming once again.
When my husband came out on his own and saw the floodwaters were still over the awning at that point, I don't think I truly understood what I was looking at.
I was so in shock, and it took a week or two for the reality of it to sink in.
We were able to come down onto Lower Street, actually see the devastation. I still couldn't believe it, even though I was, looking at it with my own two eyes. The next time we came to town, everything was gone.
We had a lot of family pieces in the shop that we had used as fixtures and as props. That was the hardest part, a little table. It was my grandmother's. Sorry. Things like that. And that wouldn't have meant anything to anyone else. It had no monetary value to it. That was the hardest part. The other stuff, it's just stuff. You just have to let it go.
After all the devastation hit, these two women decided it was time to start rebuilding. But not only was this a time to rebuild, new business owner Kim saw it as an opportunity to bloom.
We bought it in 2006 and sold it to Kim in 2024. The shop that was in the flood had my personality on it. She had a blank slate to start with.
When Helene first happened, I didn't expect anything from anybody. People just came to you and offered their help in all different ways. It was overwhelming, the kindness that everybody has shown.
In the times that we're in right now, when everything is so divided, everybody united, and it didn't matter what your political thoughts were, which side you fell on. The thing that mattered was this was your neighbor and you were going to help them. So here we are, settled into a new home, and it's good. It's all good.
I'm really happy to be here. I'm happy to have a business and to continue supporting Spruce Pine.
The devastation caused by Hurricane Helene is still being felt in parts of the high country. 220 people were saved in Watauga County alone, with over 850 people needing assistance across all of Western North Carolina. More than 1,000 buildings sustained some sort of damage, and 118 buildings were completely destroyed in the devastation. The federal government shutdown began on October 1st. However, FEMA aid is still being delivered to Western North Carolina. Governor Josh Stein stated that recovery efforts have continued in the state and FEMA has continued to work. The length of the government shutdown could affect FEMA's presence in the state. NC Congressman Tim Moore stated, quote, "The closer it gets to 30 days, it could become a problem." Just for reference, the last government shutdown took more than 30 days. I'd like to touch on that flower piece. It was excellent to see such a beautiful program be built back up. How is it working with them overall?
It's so nice to see the hope and the optimism they have and just give the people a platform that deserve it. They were so grateful for everything that happened and how well they've come back 1 year after the hurricane. And coming up next, we have how our very own App State was impacted. Our students, our professors, our communities, our campus. They were all affected by Helene, but what is more important is how we bounced back. We will see that right after this short break.
We all remember how the area surrounding Walmart was flooded. Personally, I lived in the area, and the flooding was something that I've never seen before on that level. One of the communities heavily impacted was Bavarian Village. Ella Snap spoke to one App State student who felt the power of the rising waters.
It went from 0 to 100 very quickly. I stood up from my kitchen table, turned to my kitchen to go open the front door and show my mom, and there was a ½ inch of water in the kitchen. I ran upstairs, grabbed all of the towels that I could, threw them down the stairs so that they would be at the front door, and they just started floating. There was no stopping the water at that point. Anything special that I had downstairs or whatever, I carried it all upstairs. We probably did that for maybe 20 minutes, and we were in knee-deep water at that point. It was getting really close to the outlets, and so I was like, okay, we're done. We're done carrying stuff. I can't do this anymore. At that point, we just sat upstairs and watched the water rapidly rise. I could see my car, watched it start floating, and I don't know, it was kind of weird because I was like, what's happening? We just sat and waited for rescue. They put us on an apple cart and took us to Alliance, which is where the Red Cross shelter was at the time.
After going home due to Hurricane Helene, what followed were the steps taken to assess damage and begin recovery.
Bavarian, they were definitely doing the best that they could given the circumstances that we were all in. All of the employees of Bavarian and everyone that was there, they were so kind. Had cold drinks in a time where we had no AC and no water and everything in the town. They were doing as much communication as they could. I know that they were all dealing with a lot, probably in their personal lives as well, but also you're staring at the place that you worked now in ruins, which I commend them for. When we found out classes were gonna start again, I knew Bavarian wasn't gonna be an option. Nowhere else was gonna be an option really either. I truly do believe it was the work of the Lord that we found a place to live. We were kind of hoping after Christmas break we'd hear from Bavarian Village. We didn't really hear from them. We were getting close to classes starting again, and we called them. We were like, hey, you kind of told us this time frame. We totally understand that. And they were like, we're hoping for early February. At that point, my roommate and I went and found a sublease for the spring and figured out different housing from there and kind of walked away from Bavarian.
Erin still remembers all of the efforts made by Bavarian Village when Western North Carolina was struck by Hurricane Helene. What matters most now is that her and all of our community is moving forward together, 1 year after Hurricane Helene.
The decision to bring back students to App State was difficult yet crucial. The infrastructure, resources, and economy were all weakened by the hurricane and hung in the balance with the students' return. Megan Hayes worked closely with Chancellor Norris at this time and talked about the challenges that came with it.
Our students needed to get back to school. They needed to get back in the classroom. The students that graduated last year were the same students that started their college experience here during COVID. And they need that contact, right? They need to be with other people. I didn't think that was gonna happen. So it was so important to get people back together. And it's not like it was normal, it wasn't returning to normal, but it was a little bit of normalcy, and that was really, really important.
App State students enjoyed getting back together on campus, but for some, the stress from the storm was difficult to overcome. Jacob Pearsall gives us some insight on how students were really affected by Hurricane Helene.
I already knew pretty early on that it was going to be bad. It was just a question of how bad it was going to be.
Hurricane Helene hit Western North Carolina on September 27, 2024, resulting in destroyed homes, catastrophic flooding, and many lives lost. Everyone has a story, but Michael resided in Dotton Hall on campus and was forced to go outside during the hurricane due to a smoking generator.
I was standing under a tree because I was like, I just need some cover from the rain. It started to go down, and I didn't realize it was going down until I heard someone shout that it was. And just thinking about, whether my siblings were okay at the time too. That's the one thing that was really hard for me. It's just, having to deal with the fact that if I didn't make it, having to think about what that would do to my siblings.
When the hurricane actually hit, I was back at home in Charlotte, and I was hearing updates through the hurricane hitting and all of that through my roommates. So it kind of felt like it wasn't real. It was like the hurricane was happening in Boone, and I was hearing stuff through my friends and roommates, but it was like I was not actually in Boone for the hurricane.
But just when it seemed like all hope was lost, the High Country banded together to truly help those who needed it.
Even just like the larger community of Boone, like knowing that everyone is like looking out for each other.
It really meant a lot to know that you have, the entire High Country behind you.
Around a year ago today, Hurricane Helene devastated the High Country. But thanks to the resilience, community efforts, and courage from all of those in Western North Carolina, we proved that no matter how hard we get hit, we'll always get back up. Stay strong, North Carolina. This is Jacob Pearsall for Appalachian Weekly News.
In the immediate aftermath of Hurricane Helene, health and safety were a big issue that faced the High Country. App State researchers have been working on a solution to provide more security in the future. Water contamination was a threat to those in surrounding areas and is a critical resource for those in our community. App State has awarded grants to Dr. Dennis Gugent and Maggie Sugg for research on well water conservation. The research aims to find high-risk areas affected by flooding, as well as routine water testing to ensure people have safe and clean drinking water.
As you can tell, stories are abundant after the hurricane. In fact, App State has announced a 4-part series of their own, covering the perspectives, challenges, and successes of those who lived through the event.
Hurricane Helene gathering strength in the Gulf of Mexico, likely going to be a major hurricane today.
The massive storm is expected to make landfall later tonight.
This is going to be huge as far as the impacts with widespread rain, flooding. We're talking about high wind speeds. That's going to be ongoing through tomorrow afternoon, including our location.
What I saw during the storm, I never in a million years thought that was going to happen here.
I've never seen darkness like that in the middle of the daytime before.
So that's when I realized we were in for something life-changing.
There's no way it could be real. Not in our community, not here.
Our staff just stepped up, and they do this every day, but especially on that day, they did it with no complaints. I mean, we were all there to support each other, and just proud of the fact that that everybody stuck together, and I'm just so thankful that we all came out safe.
There are a tremendous amount of individuals that give their all for this university, and the efforts that they put forth for this university on many accounts were outstanding.
Students took it upon themselves. They were going to help anybody, anywhere, anytime. And I think sometimes you can get over something better if you can help others. I tell people, it's like it was the worst and it was the best.
And there's so many stories of what people did in spite of their own personal circumstances because of their commitment to our people, our community, our campus.
I have been in these mountains my whole life. The resiliency of mountain folk, it never ceases to amaze me. This is what mountain people do. We just know we got to do it. And we got to be here for each other. We got to be here for our neighbors. You're here to take care of each other. If your neighbor needs something, you go do it and help them.
Nothing is stronger than the culture we have here of supporting one another.
Another thing that was humbling and shocking was the far-reaching support that Appalachian State received from folks. There is so much pain and hurt and devastation in these mountains, but in so many ways, the sun is shining on this place.
None of us will forget the effects of Hurricane Helene from 1 year ago. In fact, many high country residents lost everything in the hurricane. Some people are just now getting settled. Joe Sherwood of Avery County is one of those people. Adam Persico reports on how Boone-based Samaritan's Purse helped him rebuild his life with a new home.
I was sitting on the corner of the bed, on the side of the bed, playing checkers on my tablet. I got up, laid my tablet down, went over to the back window, looked out, and all the water was rising really fast. I said to myself, there's nothing I can do about that. So I went back to the checkerboard, made one move, explosion like I'd never heard before. That piano came from one room through the wall, hit me in the back, knocked me about a little bit further than where he's standing, then turned over on top of me. I was pinned for 3 hours under that piano, and I waited there, like I said, for about 3 hours. And my son came back down, and he wanted to know how I was doing. I said, well, I'm all right. I could wiggle my toes. I knew I wasn't paralyzed or anything like that, but I could not pull myself out from under that piano. Well, he goes down the highway. He had enough presence of mind to not try to bust that door down because mud was that high against the door. I could tell that because part of my body was in mud. All of a sudden, here comes the Cove Creek Fire Department, the Zymo Fire Department, and they started working frantically and got me out of there probably in 25 minutes. They had me on a stretcher. Well, I didn't look around the house. I said to myself, we'll rebuild that bedroom. That ain't no big deal. We'll put a new wall in and new door and all that. So they took me down to the Cove Creek Fire Department and kept me there and checked my vitals every few minutes, and everything was all right. Fed me and all that. So my son comes to pick me up that day about 5 or 6 o'clock. I said, Johnson, we'll rebuild this house. It ain't no big deal. He said, Dad, I gotta tell you something. Your house is destroyed. I said, what are you talking about? I said, that bedroom is in pretty bad shape, but we rebuilt this house. He said, Dad, your home's destroyed. So that was a year ago on September 27th. I'll never forget it.
Our community bonded together after the storm, and we will not forget those we lost. On Sunday, September 27th, a year to the day after Hurricane Helene, the town of Boone held a candlelight vigil to honor those lost in the tragedy. Locals were in attendance, with Mayor of Boone, Tim Futrell, reflecting on the recovery efforts and those impacted by Hurricane Helene.
These candles tonight honor the past and light our promise for the future to rebuild smarter and safer, to protect the most vulnerable, and to keep showing up for one another. Let us hold a moment of silence and gratitude and resolve, and as we remember the weekend of Helene last year. To every family still rebuilding and grieving, we have not forgotten. We are all still here. We all stand with you, and we'll be here as long as it takes for us to make this recovery complete.
Did you know the eastern hellbender is the largest salamander in North America? And it has been a symbol of southern Appalachia for many years. Last year, Hurricane Helene disrupted many of their habitats, but this indicator species hasn't given up yet. Nora Yoakum spoke to the experts to find out how they're doing 1 year after the storm.
You know, this is a unique part of the world here in the southern Appalachians, and there are a lot of people who are drawn to this area for its natural resources and natural beauty, and the hellbender kind of symbolizes that to a lot of people, I think.
So hellbenders are very, very resilient, much more resilient than you and I. They are millions of years old. They evolved with the dinosaurs, so it was not their first Hurricane Helene, and it probably, unfortunately, will not be their last.
So what we say about hellbenders, they're often an indicator species. So they're one of the first things that you'll lose from an ecosystem as it becomes polluted.
So if you've got hellbenders, you know that the water quality is good.
Last fall, Western North Carolina took a hit with Hurricane Helene. Now it's been almost a year since that historic storm, and we're still feeling the impacts. Through constant volunteer work and community involvement, there's one way to get hope flowing in the high country.
We're so thankful to have big groups that are willing to come out and help, because we can get a lot done in a short amount of time. Many hands make light work.
These animals live 30, 40, 50 years, we think, and you know, hopefully there'll be some around in the future.
They're one of the most resilient creatures on this planet, and they are still walking around. There's probably some right behind us that we don't even know about. But yeah, we're really lucky to have North America's largest salamander right in our backyard.
It's so cool how something like a hellbender can be such a marker of our ecosystem. But Jacob, I gotta ask, are you a little upset that Nora wasn't holding one? Because I know I am.
Yeah, I feel bad for her, but as long as I don't have to hold one, I'm okay. Coming up next, we get to hear about the heart of hurricane relief efforts in Watauga County, stepping up to the court when people needed it most, as well as much more, only here on Appalachian Weekly News.
This time last year, we were uncertain if the App State football team would take the field for the rest of the season. Just weeks later, we saw the Mountaineers run out onto Kidd Brewer Stadium in front of more than 30,000 people. We spoke to Senior Associate Athletics Director for Communications Joey Jones about the decision to bring football back.
What I can say is that athletics, and in particular football, is just a big rallying thing for the community. It's a big thing that brings a lot of people together. And so when we did play that game, it was a big moment of showing the community how much everybody cared. You know, they're here to play football, so they definitely wanted to do that. But I know talking to a lot of them, and especially talking to them via their coaching staff, they wanted to make sure that they were here for this community. So it was really important for them to help with the recovery efforts, and it was also important to them to play for something bigger than themselves and to really be here for the community in that way.
This year's Spirit of Boone was not only a celebration of our community's progress, but a tribute to honor all the ways we've come together as a community since last fall. David Jackson, longtime member and president of the Boone Chamber of Commerce, has worked on several projects to bring strength back to Boone.
Last year when we had this event, I mentioned that the leadership gathered in this room was the Spirit of Boone. The people, the businesses that would keep our community strong and moving toward the next opportunity with vision and purpose. Over the last year, so many of you have lived those exact words. You have been the strength, the force, the advocate, the friendly face, and that's what we're here to celebrate tonight. That is the Spirit of Boone.
One of the award winners from the Spirit of Boone was the Summit Pickleball. They stepped up when the community needed it the most. They served as a hurricane relief center, providing a space for donations, supplies, and support. Sabrina Foti reports.
We opened about 2 years ago. We're an indoor pickleball facility.
It's something that we just really wanted to create for the community to have something indoors. We all know how the winters are here, and just for the community to have a place to come together.
Summit Pickleball in Boone stepped up 1 year ago when disaster hit. During Hurricane Helene, they opened their doors to a community in crisis, and what began as a sports facility became more than just a place to play.
We knew we would be community in the sense of pickleball and coming and hanging out, but not what Helene turned it into. So the day the hurricane hit, Grant and I were in communication, just kind of worried about what the facility would look like, if our roof would even withstand. We're lucky we had a little bit of inside damage, just water on the courts. Nothing major compared to what was going on around us. There's no way I could even consider playing pickleball or have people in here playing when I knew there was going to be large efforts, items needed, donations and stuff. So we turned into basically a donation drop-off hub. From there, it just kind of snowballed. People got word of it. We put it out to everyone that we knew. They let everybody know through social media. We partnered with the high school and Cornerstone Church, and the rest is history on that. Everybody, it was kind of a tight-knit. We were working together for a bigger cause, and I would say now we have more people coming in because of that. You're seeing people from Alabama, Florida, all over, Ohio, bringing supplies, 63-foot trailers, leaving at 4 in the morning to get them to us. And then it would be the volunteers. We had, I'm talking hundreds each day. It was nuts, and it wasn't even planned. It was like controlled chaos in here. As far as a hurricane or anything large scale like that, again, we are absolutely willing to shut down the facility. We've got the perfect location. We've already done it once, and we're willing to step up however that looks.
Another of the Spirit of Boone winners was Phys Ed, known for not only their resilience during the hurricane, but also the environment they bring to Boone. Ella Snap went out to find what fun can be found at the restaurant on Howard Street in downtown Boone.
It's really for fun and for laughs and not a whole lot else.
It's fun just to know that you're making somebody's Sunday night a little bit better.
It's just so much fun. I want you as a customer to be able to come in and participate in that fun pretty much every time you're here.
Coming up on their 2-year anniversary, Phys Ed was opened by 2 of App State's very own alumni.
I started coming to Appalachian State for a camp when I was in middle school and fell in love with the area, fell in love with the university. I came here when I graduated from high school and never left. We wanted to have a place where college kids and professors and community members and kind of everybody could come together and enjoy themselves and always find something fun happening.
Phys Ed has so many different fun events, from line dancing to art shows to karaoke. But on Sunday nights, that fun event is trivia.
Trivia just seemed like it was our lane, something that was for everybody. We decided to try everybody trivia at 6:30, and then our late night trivia is a little bit more R-rated. It's really fun.
The early crowd, we get like a lot of professors. When we have the late night crowd, I think it really entices the college crowd to really come out.
We actually went around and we tried trivias all through Boone, and this is the one we come back to every week. We love trivia.
I would say Phys Ed trivia is probably the most unique environment anybody could get in Boone. We ask the most random, off-the-wall questions ever. If you go to a normal trivia, you're probably gonna know a majority of the answers. Whereas if you come here, if you get all of our answers right, we know you're cheating.
It's not based on a lot of current events or news or serious history. We just want people to come in and enjoy the company of the people that they're with.
I love the community at Phys Ed. I would say it really feels like a family environment. All the people that work here, from the owners to the waitresses and the waiters, all the way to the kitchen, great people, just fun people to be around in general.
Me and my dad like to come every week just for a little fun getaway from the house. I like the restaurant.
People that we know, but also people that we don't know, have come in, shown us that they want us to be here in big ways, and we appreciate the community showing up for us.
I promise if you come once, I think you'll come back and you'll have a good time.
It's great to see that after something as awful as that, the community has been able to rebuild. Whether it's Spruce Pine or Beech Mountain, across all the high country, people have worked together to try and build this place back up.
It is so inspiring to see. Like you were saying, we have come so far, and yes, there's still work to do, but it is wonderful to be part of this community and see how far we have come and how much we have grown. So thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm Ella Snap.
And I'm Jacob Pearsall.
And this was Appalachian Weekly News 1 year after the hurricane.